I'm not inherently opposed to sequels. I really like the Indiana Jones movies. I like the 3 Star Wars movies that were made and then Force Awakens and nothing else. I like Wayne's World 2 almost as much as I like Wayne's World 1. I don't even think Ghostbusters 2 is a bad movie. I suspect that won't be the most controversial opinion about Ghostbusters this year. But one of the things you could always say about Pixar was that they weren't focused on sequels. They would never seem to do them when they could have come up with an original idea. I mean, yeah, you got the Toy Story ones, but I can imagine why that happens. But when you have a more limited, closed story like Monsters, Inc., making a sequel just seems to not work. Because Monsters University, as much as it's quite a passable film, ultimately is nowhere near as good as the original Monsters, Inc. So when I saw that Pixar were going to make a sequel to Finding Nemo called Finding Dory, I was a little bit pissed off about it. Finding Nemo came out just before I started secondary school, and it kind of marks a line between when I watched kiddie movies because I was a kid and when I watched kiddies movies because I was being an ironic teenager. I've crossed another line since then, which is sort of like watching kiddie films because I can't deal with anything more difficult than that today. And Finding Nemo also came to me at a time when I was starting to look at films a little bit more objectively, and one of the nice things about animation is because it's all created, there's nothing real in it. You can kind of see quite clearly where the mark of the creators is in it. On top of that, Finding Nemo, the DVD I had of it anyway, had a load of like behind the scenes stuff, so I was able to kind of understand more about the filmmaking process at a time when that was really valuable to me. So when Finding Dory comes along, not convinced. But I went out to see it with my girlfriend and it pleasantly surprised me. To get it out of the way as quickly as possible, it's not as good as Finding Nemo, but it's nowhere near as big a gap as it is between Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University. And again, I'm not trying to mess around with Monsters University. I think it's quite a good film. I just don't think it's anywhere near as good as the rest of Pixar stuff, by and large. Finding Dory is about Dory's attempts to go and find her parents and where she grew up because she can't remember them, obviously. So she starts to progressively get her memory back as they get closer to it. And it's quite an emotional story overall, so I don't really want to spoil it for you. Suffice to say, it's worth watching. The animation obviously is completely gorgeous. One of the interesting things about the film is that there's been a huge step towards photorealism in Pixar since Finding Nemo, actually. If you look at how Finding Nemo models water, it still does a better job than a lot of animation even now. But Finding Dory just completely blows that away. Despite that, they haven't made realism kind of the be-all and end-all of the animation, which it sometimes is for certain people. One thing they've really focused on is character designs. So the designs are definitely built by animators, so they can be more expressive and they're kind of caricaturish, but they're also placed in a photorealistic world, so you get quite a convincing illusion in the film overall. But by far the most impressive thing about Finding Dory is the way in which it deals with being a sequel. One problem with a lot of sequels is that they just start off with the characters you had at the end of the previous film and they say, okay, here's another story, because you liked the previous one, so why not this one? You've got the same characters, you've got the same setting, it's bigger, it's better, have fun. Now, Finding Nemo was quite a contained story, and they'd kind of finished everything off by the end of it. So what Finding Dory opts to do is spend the first 10-15 minutes walking you through what the new story is, and then also why it's a good story to be told. So they resituate Dory before she meets Marlin, during the Finding Nemo events, and then afterwards. So we kind of get a sense of her as a character as well, so she can then become the protagonist of this film. In the end, that's an approach that pays off really well. My girlfriend sat there crying while I sat there stoic and masculine thinking about the themes in the film. And throughout, the audience laughed, cried, and sighed at the right points. That's Pixar for you. They know an audience back to front, and they've never made a film that isn't enjoyable. They've made films that sometimes aren't as good as their reputation would have you think, but they've never made a film which is unwatchable. It's definitely worth a watch, and a great one for the family to see together. Hope you enjoyed my review. Don't forget to click subscribe if you want to get the next one when it comes out. Have a good one, and I'll see you next week.